Good morning and welcome back to the next episode of the Free Agent Podcast. My name is Meg Schmitz and today my guest is Howard Fox, and I'm going to let Howard introduce himself shortly. First and foremost, I want to welcome you to the podcast where the discussion is all about free agency and taking control over your future. The mission of my show is to share inspiring conversations with real people who took the leap into self-employment, business ownership, franchising, or freedom. From corporate refugees and executives tired of the desk job to entrepreneurs and investors looking to share camaraderie and inspiration through their business journey, my podcast aims a spotlight on real people who stepped into the unknown, took control of their destiny, and became their own boss. Good morning, Howard.
Good morning, Meg. Thank you so much for the invitation to join you.
Yeah, it was really great to get to know you over the phone a few weeks ago when we connected. We have the Chicago connection, although you have escaped.
I did. I escaped in July, made the trek out to Las Vegas, where it's right now sunny, clear skies, soon to be 60 degrees.
Quite an amazing year this year. Uncertainty all around us for everybody. And you have tackled some elements of uncertainty with your own career and career transition. You are a career transition expert. And well, why don't you tell the listeners about your journey through your own career and how you became a free agent?
Sure. Well, thank you. I actually like to tell people I'm a recovering IT business consultant. And I learned to say that when I was getting involved with Toastmasters years ago, but I digress. But I found myself over the years in the IT world just going from one project to the next and really realizing there was just a lot of unhappiness there. I mean, I liked it for about the first week of a new project. And then, some of the people were great, some of the people not so great. And I remember thinking to myself, is this the way it's going to be for the rest of my life? And I was on this project in Victoria, British Columbia, which is probably, I used to call the first most beautiful place in the world because I really hadn't seen much of the world. And well, I had a little bit, but the Victoria is beautiful. But I was on a project where I was completely miserable. And I was thinking to myself, how could that possibly happen? And because of that just aha moment, that insight, I decided I have to figure out what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life because this is not it. And I didn't want to die alone in a hotel room. So decided to.
That sounds like a pretty dark comment, Howard. What is there more to that? Some people. Well, I think right now we're seeing people who are looking at uncertainty with a very dark point of view. When are we ever going to get out of this? And so, was there something going on for you?
Well, I should say with a caveat, that line actually came from a book called The Lefty's Legacy, which was about, he was a Los Angeles Dodgers pitcher. He was Sandy Koufax. And he had made that comment when he was asked why he didn't want to go into broadcasting like his teammate Don Drysdale did. And his comment was, because I didn't want to die alone in a hotel room. And that statement has always just stuck with me. Sometimes I suppose it freaks people out, but it's true. Why would we want to invest our lives doing work that we're not passionate about? Because that gets to the essence of how can I possibly be on a project and be so miserable in the most beautiful place in the world? And it physically affected me, not extreme physical effects, but I was physically affected by it. So there was pain going on, and project after project. And I just decided I can't do this. I've got to figure out what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And that's how I discovered, really by happenstance, the coaching profession, and felt that while I was going to be on the road in hotel rooms, I needed a program where I could get my training while using distance learning as the modality for my education. And I discovered Fielding Graduate University in Santa Barbara. That's the second most beautiful place in the world, in my
Indeed.
Toastmasters icebreaker story. And what was great about the program is that it was distance learning. I got my master's degree in organizational leadership at Fielding at the time, and they still do have an accredited coach training program, which was the elective part of my program. And so I was literally navigating my career change while I had my full-time job, with the hope that, okay, how do I finally make the break? And that in of itself is a whole other story. But I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I knew I was in the right place.
What was that catalyst then that made you switch gears or give a hard stop to the job?
I got laid off.
Yeah.
So which is really funny because I have what I would call, and kind of like why we are here, is I have what I would call a portfolio career. I have a quote job, which is part-time hours, 20 hours a week-ish, maybe a little less, maybe a little more, for a company that provides career transition, career development, executive coaching. And I actually work for them right now, and they were the outplacement service when I got laid off. So I literally remember it working from home. I transferred from a consulting role to an overhead role, which was a big mistake, because when you're overhead, you are overhead. When things go south economic wise, we were just getting into the recession back in 2000, eight. And so, and eventually I got laid off. And a long story short, I remember saying to myself, wow, thank God.
Yeah.
Because I was afraid to leave, because growing up with my age, you don't leave a job if you're getting paid for it. That's security. But then,
Right.
you and I live in an environment where there's no jobs that are secure anymore. So we have to find a way to navigate and take care of ourselves, which is why we go into careers like I did, self-employed, franchising, like your expertise is in, helping others go down that path. And so the moment was just getting laid off and realizing, I'm just not going to do this anymore. I needed to make my way on my own.
That pink slip disorder, it's the trauma of the pink slip coming. I'm talking to more people, and maybe you are too, who use the words that you just did. You didn't realize how unhappy you were, how much of a blessing really getting that pink slip turned out to be.
True. Well, we all have limiting beliefs, and many of those come from our early childhood development, where we're taught by our parents, suck it up, stay in the good, keep the good fight, you get a job, it's a straight line, you retire. And we soon realized, and I definitely have been involved with it a number of times, that companies don't care about us. I mean, to take that back, there are companies out there who have a reputation for taking care of its employees, okay, and being very good to them. Benefits, education, coaching, which is some of the work that I do out here in Vegas. However, when things really get tough, those companies still are looking to manage their revenue, manage their expenses, and people's jobs suddenly are on the line. The company may love you, may appreciate the work, but at the end of the day, you're on your own, and you have to manage your career. We should all be managing our career that way.
Yeah, and thus the title of the show, Free Agent. People who have jobs, and I don't think they realize how much of a silo they're cramming their time into this silo that doesn't allow them to use some of their special their capabilities, their special skill sets that make them unique. And a free agent, you can be traded. You can go to a different team. You can move around. You are able to exert freedom on your future that the company never will. And so you're right. Some companies are very good to their employees, but at the end of the day, profit. And here we are in a pandemic. Who's essential?
True.
So it's
And
not.
you know, it's funny. I had a client that I was coaching when I was back in Chicago with a nonprofit, and I still do work with them. And I remember she got laid off, and she was like literally crying in our session together because she did not want to go back to do what she was doing before. She was good at it. And I remember this conversation really kind of boiled down to, so don't. If you have all these skills, and as employees, no matter what we do, we should know what our skills are. We should know what our capabilities are. We should know which ones really make our hearts sing, which ones like, I'm good at it. I just don't want to do this for the rest of my life. But these skills, if I could do this for the rest of my life, I'd be a happy camper. And I remember having this conversation, and that allowed her to then go into a whole other direction of, where she was really passionate. She had two passions, one based on a spouse who had passed away, another based on social issues with a child, but she was passionate about those two areas. And so then the whole mindset shifted from going back to the same old job to like, oh, I can go somewhere else and use these same skills. Like, oh yeah, you can. And that's the conversations I have today. So in certain areas of our country, certain industries are not doing very well. But in those industries, we all have those skills and your expertise. And that gives you then a path forward to put some wind in your sails, to sail off to a different port, using a sailing. I love my sailing metaphors. But you can, you've got the wind in your sail, you've got these skills. Well, go to a different port. See if that's where you want to go.
Do you use particular tests, or is your approach more conversational in getting people to reveal those passions?
It's a little bit of both. I'll use assessments to help me get more information about my client, and also to help them get more information about themselves. So when I talk about my misery on my early days, a lot of that was of my own making. I am a very introverted, opinionated, stubborn person. I like to do things my way, and I always thought everybody else should do things my way as well. Well, it doesn't work that way. And so understanding my personality, your personality, how do I need to adapt to you? If I understand some of that, then I can begin to discover why I'm having the same issues that I'm having. And there are tools for skills. There's tools for emotional intelligence, leadership skills. So to answer your question, I use tools when it's the right time to use the tool. I don't use a tool just because I have all these tools to use. Part of the conversation is just the dialogue. Yesterday's conversation with a client is about, okay, let's create a box, make it 4 squares, love, like, want, don't want. And then we just started putting items into various squares. And then we started to kind of explore those in a lot greater detail. So at the end, oh, okay, I can do these things. And that's just, that's a little tool, but it's not a test, but it's dialogue. It's asking good questions and digging deep.
Yeah, it seems like corporate people who've been in for a long time are so accustomed to being defined, they don't realize how transitional their skill sets are. And they think, oh, well, I've been in IT, so I need to stay in IT. No, you're a multidimensional human being, and being able to to transition your skill sets into a different industry or business ownership. Is some people don't want to work for the man anymore. They want to be the man,
Right.
and they're just not quite sure how to tap into those skill sets.
Sure.
Not realizing that they're absolutely able to transition those from one place to another.
And it's a nice segue to when the opportunity presents itself, either because you decide it's an opportunity or it's made for you. There are ways to do your research. I can go out to Hoover's and again, it requires a subscription, but I can investigate companies. I can Google. You become very adept at Google. LinkedIn. I mean, I live and breathe LinkedIn with my clients, but that is yes, it's a application that has my profile or my brand on it, but it's also a tool to do research. I can look for skills. I can look for people with the skills. I can look for companies that use people with those skills. I can look for the jobs in those companies. And so using tools like a LinkedIn to do your research or Google to do your research about where are these skills being used, and the Office of OMB, Office of Management and Budget, whoever does provides the database of ONET, which is this big repository of SIC codes and industry codes and skills and education. Any of us at any time, whether we have the JOB or we're between them, should be able to do some research to discover what the possibility or this new landscape might look like for them.
Yeah, and some people can't get unstuck on their own.
No.
And that's where someone like you comes in. What is one skill or tool that you are using this year recently that has changed your business?
Well, if it's a tool, it's always going to be LinkedIn. I mean, I use assessment tools in my work. Some of them are prescribed because the organization I work with. On my own, I use a tool like the DISC assessment tool all the time. However, for the most part, LinkedIn, because most of the people are coming to me for career development needs, career transition needs, and LinkedIn and teaching people how to brand themselves, how to market themselves, how to do research. I will always go to LinkedIn, and people ask me, should I invest in the upgraded package of LinkedIn? Well, that's usually a yes or a no. But I can find people anywhere using the internet. All right. And I have to be careful for myself and explain to my clients, you have a brand out there, whether you realize it or not. You may not want to be on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, etc., but you're out there, and I'll bet you I can find you. Now, if I find you, I care about how you are presenting yourself. I care about how I'm presenting myself. And so using LinkedIn to shape your brand professionally is just a wonderful tool. So your expertise is in, the franchise and teaching people about why this can be a good opportunity if that's the route you want to take. Well, you can investigate franchises. You can investigate people who are franchisors, franchisees, who are the people that are supporting that environment. And so LinkedIn is just a huge go-to. So that would be, that's the one I use the most in my overall work. I mean, you and I both are podcast hosts. The ability to interview other professionals about their work is a great marketing tool. It's a great branding tool. We become known as those people. So as a modality, I would say podcasting has been the other piece of the success that I have garnered this year.
Yeah, people are endlessly fascinating to me. Um, I'll talk to anybody, stranger as a friend I haven't met yet, and I agree about LinkedIn. There are some people who are uncomfortable using LinkedIn. They feel like they're selling themselves, which of course you ought to be selling yourself. If you're going to go and look for your next adventure, you have to figure out how it is that you're going to represent yourself and advocate for yourself. And LinkedIn is a great tool. Another one, of course, that we've all gotten accustomed to is using Zoom or Facebook GoToMeeting. It's this virtual, being able to look somebody in the eye and read the body language and the facial expressions. What
Right.
a gift.
Right. I
Huge,
just
probably for your
realized
business as well.
by the way, I'm looking at your image on the Zoom screen and I should be looking at the camera. I mean, teaching people even how to use these applications is so important. But yeah, I mean, with the pandemic, Zoom has been a godsend. Maybe some people are not on, I don't even know what you call it, FaceTime or whatever the other products are. I mean, Zoom is just right place at the right time. And it's a huge, thinking about it as an application, it's a huge part of my business, because I'm on
And so
Zoom every day.
do you, as you're working with individuals and you're looking at their bedroom or the basement or where, is that part of the coaching that you provide, is how to sound and look, appear?
Well, my my clients are coming to me to help them solve certain problems or issues. That not is not always it. Like, I will help clients, for example, set up a podcast. Like, how do I do this?
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll talk about the microphone, the headset, the camera, um, the background. I mean, if I were to turn off my background right now, you would see a very messy single guy's apartment. Okay. So I have this nice,
Confession. It's a true confession.
yeah. I mean,
You're
I,
not in Florida?
I'm not in Florida. No, I wish I was. I was reading an article today. People are renting homes in Hawaii and just staying there. What a great place to be do your work away if you've got to be virtual.
Yeah.
But we'll work with them how to do that. But there are folks out there who help people get confident around working around the camera.
Yeah.
So we'll help them with the technical side and here's some helpful hints, but typically don't touch on that, or I will refer them to colleagues of mine that's their sweet spot.
Got it. So now that you have left unhappy behind and you're happy with what you are doing, what is the funnest part of your job? What really brings you joy?
The funnest part of my job that brings me joy. All coaches will tell you this. It's that aha moment, that light bulb that pops in your head. And you can actually work with a client visually, sometimes just listening to them if we're on the phone. When all of a sudden their eyes go wide open, it's like, oh, wow, I didn't realize that. I didn't think of it that way. I didn't realize I could do that. That's the joy. I mean, sometimes people don't want to do their own thing. I mean, career transition, sometimes you'll talk to people once and you'll never hear from them again, or you'll hear from them a week before their program ends, or they wonder why nobody's replying to a resume. And so when people stick with the process, when they learn how to be self-sufficient, that doesn't mean you can't ask for help, but they know they have to manage their career. And when that light bulb goes off, it's like, oh, wow, this is great. Thank you so much. That gives me the joy.
And I thought it was just me, but it's exactly why I keep doing what I do. I don't care if the people I'm talking to end up buying a franchise or doing something else. When they're at that moment in their head saying, I can, and I'm going to, because now they've left fear and they found confidence.
Sure.
I think that's what we get to do as coaches. We help to uncover and then inspire.
Yeah. And the thing I don't want to leave my client with, and I have felt this before, maybe you have felt this too, is the angst. Like when I'm about ready to do something that I really don't want to do or feel I'm forced to do, I feel it in my stomach. Some of us feel it different places. I don't want my clients to feel any angst about what they're about ready to do.
Yeah.
And so if I can help them recognize when they are getting anxious, when that soreness in the stomach is starting to rise up, then we've got to ask, is this really what you want to do?
Yeah.
And that's an important feature of the work that we do.
Yeah. Listening to your gut instincts, and really paying attention to when the gravitational pull is there and it's right. It's so nice because you there's that instinct as well, that it's good. This is where I should be. As a self-employed guy, have there been any challenges that have been really difficult for you in making your own transitions, that now you have mastered some of those things and had your own aha moments?
Yeah, I've one to work maybe backwards, like this move from Chicago to Las Vegas, right in the middle of the pandemic. All right. It was the most comfortable thing I ever did in my life. Well, maybe not the most comfortable, but one of the top. Did I make the right decision? Oh, you bet. I love it out here. Okay. I've only been to the Strip once, but I get to see beautiful places all around, the area. When I have made, as an entrepreneur, when I have invested my dollars or time into doing things that I really don't want to do, and I've learned to recognize when that stomach, that gut instinct, for the sake of a better word, when that starts to raise its head, so to speak, that's when I know I've got to listen. Because if I don't, I know I'm going to go down a path that's going to cost me time and money. And it has. In my profession, there's a lot of people out there trying to enroll you in their programs. We can help make you six figures in 6 months. Okay. No. I mean, I get that all the time on LinkedIn. Learn to listen to what your gut is telling you to do, because your gut knows if it goes up to the head, then the head takes over, headspace takes over. So work with the heart, work with the stomach.
The voices in your head, I will talk to some people, you just tell that they're in their head, and there's no sound coming from the outside that's going to be louder than what's inside their head. Mm-hmm. Those are challenging people to work with, and sometimes you just can't break through. But when you can, and when they let their guard down, which this is part of the trust that we have to build via this virtual reality that we're in, is getting people to let their guard down and be realistic with themselves about what their capabilities really are, and face those challenges. I think the hardest thing as an entrepreneur is figuring out how to monetize what your offering is appropriately, and have the confidence to know what your value is and not waste time or money. Don't waste time where you're missing monetizable opportunities.
Oh, you are like preaching to the choir there. I mean, it's just, I find myself, and I still do that. I'll be very honest with you, Meg. I still do that. I mean, I give my quote unquote friends and family discount, but then I'm doing it because it's nice to get the money coming in. It's nice to know I'm going to pay those bills, because I still, even as an entrepreneur, even as a franchise owner, we still have bills to pay. We have overhead, maybe we have employee overhead, product overhead. I still have things I have to get done, and we don't want to turn away the business, but we have to recognize the value that we bring. I mean, even in our podcast world, people expect, they don't realize the effort that goes in and the investment that goes into producing a good quality podcast. Oh, I'm going to be on a podcast. Isn't that great? But they don't realize your time, your effort, my time, my effort.
Yeah. And bringing high quality insights to the airwaves. There's so much uncertainty right now, and it's a wacky time right now. And giving people confidence is what you and I both love to do.
Right.
Help them navigate and find a way forward. Yeah, there's a lot of uncertainty, but boy, there's a lot of certainty too. And people are spending money. So if you're going to go back to the working world and get a job, be confident in that. It may be continuing to be a revolving door or a turnstile through 2021, but for some people, that's their safe place and they feel good there.
And I think the other opportunity has been, and maybe this touches more on your side of the house, is we can have, it doesn't just have to be one job. It could be a job. It could be, I call them side hustles. I mean, my LinkedIn started off as a side hustle. Now it's an important part of what I do. Some of the other tools that I use were they're part of my work, but then I incorporated them into other side hustles. And my podcasting was originally a side hustle. So this is the time to think about what you're passionate about and what can you do. And, I think it's even though there's a lot going on, having a trusted advisor, a confidant, a coach, exploring what's possible as opposed to just getting shut down by everything that's going on around you. And
the whole notion of getting unstuck is one, but the abundance mentality, why does it have to be this or that? Why can't it be this and that? Mm-hmm. Put and in there.
I like that.
Your world opens up quite a bit when you put and in there. Your side hustle, that's a this and that. And then the side hustle turned into something greater. How great for you too, as well as for me, to be diversified and have these different buckets where we can allocate time and know that they're monetizable, they're sustaining, they are rewarding, and that is that abundance mentality of and.
Sure, so most definitely.
Well, Howard, it has been quite a pleasure having you on the podcast today. Really great insights from you for the audience. And as a free agent, I congratulate you in making a career, quite a successful transition from out of Illinois, which that is a good one, and into a happier place. So thanks for joining me today. And actually, I will look forward to seeing you tomorrow on your podcast.
I am looking forward to having you as my guest and to hearing more about your story. So this is the wonderful nature of this work. It's, we kind of met by accident in a way. I think we met on LinkedIn.
Yeah, we did.
But just being able to have a conversation without any agenda and realizing, oh, this would be good. And I think, I appreciate your invitation to join you, and I'm definitely looking forward to, what we create together tomorrow.
Thank you. This is the beauty of being open and trusting on LinkedIn and being willing to connect to people just for the sake of who knows where the conversation is going to go. The one with you, I remember exactly where I was driving to and where I was on the road when we had that first conversation. It's obviously it's making me smile. It's a lovely happenstance. So thanks again.
My pleasure. And thank you so much. I appreciate it.